Good afternoon and welcome to Willsville Stadium for the start of the 1987-88 Rugby League season as Warrington entertain last season's second division champions Hunslet. The teams this afternoon: Warrington at 1 Brian Johnson, 2 Des Drummond, 3 Paul Cullen, at 4 Barry Peters, 5 Joe Rapati, 6 John Woods, 7 Keith Holden, at 8 Kevin Tamati, 9 Mark Roskell, 10 Tony Humphreys, 11 Gary Sanderson, 12 is Mark Roberts, and 13 Billy McGinty. Substitutes for Warrington: 14 Bob Jackson, 15 Les Boyd. Hunslet at 1 Andy Kay, 2 Mick Bell, 3 Phil Tate, 4 Jimmy Irvin, 5 Warren Wilson, 6 Jed Coates, 7 Graham King, 8 Keith Mason, 9 Roy Sampson, 10 Andy Bateman, 11 Alan Platt, 12 Chris Bowden, and 13 Teddy Webb. Substitutes for Hunslet: 14 Andrew Marsden, 15 Andy Sykes. The referee this afternoon is Robin Whitfield from Widnes. His substitutes are John Mean and Jeff Lightfoot. So the two captains balance toss the coin in the centre of the field. For Warrington, Kevin Tamati, and for Hunslet, Teddy Webb. And Warrington have won the toss, so Warrington will be playing from left to right in this first half as we look in the white shirts with the primrose and blue V. It'll be Hunslet who'll get the 1987-88 season underway. Then it's Jed Coates, who had a good game when the two teams met in the John Player competition last season, who'll get the game underway. And the whistle goes on the 1987-88 season. A good kick from Coates, but it goes straight out, so Warrington have the first penalty from the centre of the field. The ball goes into the hands of John Woods, who'll put for touch on this near side. And John Woods makes no mistake. Mark Roskell will take the second part of the penalty, taps it. First receivers Kevin Tamati. Tamati drives in. He though runs into Keith Mason and Roy Sampson, and Warrington have a penalty. Kevin Tamati not being allowed to play the ball. Wants to gain the ball into the hands of John Woods, who will try and open the scoring in the first minute of the match. John Woods, who made a successful debut against Wigan a fortnight ago, 6 goals in a try, now has the chance of opening the scoring this afternoon. Comes up, he strikes it well, but just goes to the right of the posts. But Warrington should regain possession with a dropout from the 25 for Hunslet. Alan Platt gets good length on it. Brian Johnson and Des Drummond are there. It's Brian Johnson who hands it on to Des Drummond. The crowd already buzzing as he strides forward, but runs into the Hunslet captain, Teddy Webb. Mark Roskell sends it on this near side to Tamati. Tamati driving forward, but there's some good Hunslet tackling coming in early on. Pushes Kevin Tamati back to his own 25-yard line, and this time the penalty goes the way of Hunslet. And now Hunslet have a chance to open the scoring with Alan Platt. Platt then, who was the top goals and points scorer for Hunslet last season. Now has a chance to open his account this season. He comes up, strikes it well, curls in, but doesn't curl enough. So 2 penalties missed, 1 from each side in the first 3 minutes. So Warrington to drop out from their own 25-yard line with John Woods. Teddy Webb goes for that one and collects it safely. Webb then drives in. Good tackle though from Joe Rapati and Barry Peters. Going himself in the play the ball, moving forward there. Jimmy Irving makes it to the halfway line before he's stopped. Nice dummy there. Jenko still going, but once again Barry Peters has him well wrapped up. And that is a penalty. Pulling of the jersey by Barry Peters on Graham King. Gives Hunslet a penalty. Once again then Alan Platt to put for touch over on that far side. And that's a good kick from Platt. Sets Hunslet up on the first real attack of the match, midway inside the Warrington 25. Maybe a set move coming up here. Webb, Platt, nice ball on that far side, driving forward there was Chris Bowden. Good saving tackle over on that far side coming in from Tony Humphreys. Hunslet on the attack now with Webb, gives a dummy and goes himself. Wrapped up this time by 3 Warrington players. 10 yards then from the Warrington line. Platt feeds it to Bowden again. Once again, Warrington tackling, keeping them out. Graham King sends it outright to Coates. Coates little chip through. Joe Rapati's after it and dives on it. But the referee, Whitfield, gives Hunslet offside over on that far side. So Warrington clear the lines with a kick from John Woods. John Woods makes no mistake. Mark Roskell then to take the tap, hands it on to Kevin Tamity. Tamity striding forward, clears his own 25 before he's brought down. Acting half-back, Roskell on to Keith Holden. Long pass out to John Woods. Woods comes back left. He's wrapped up though by Chris Bowden. Roskell out to Keith Holden. And offside against Alan Platt on that far side, gives Warrington a penalty. So just over 5 minutes gone, still no score. As John Woods successfully puts a good kick for touch over on that far side. Mark Roskell then taps it on to Tony Humphreys. Humphreys, once again, 3 Hunslet forwards in the tackle. Roskell again to Kevin Tamity. Tamity makes a couple more yards. Stopped by Andy Bateman. Holden goes left, brings in Mark Roberts. He's though well tackled by Phil Tate. Roskell once more to Keith Holden. Swings it out to Billy McGinty, gives a dummy and straightens up. Well picked off by Chris Bowden. John Woods to Keith Holden. Woods goes to return. Just couldn't keep hold of it. The ball's loose. And it's Chris Bowden who dives on it for Hunslet. And they're in possession just outside their own 25. Jimmy Irving goes himself in the play of the ball. Caught by Mark Roskell. Sampson to Teddy Webb to Platt. Fires a gap down the centre, gets the ball on to King, but he can't take the pass. The ball's loose. But that'll be a knock on and a scrum down. So a scrum down midway inside the Hunslet half of the field. Keith Holden then puts the ball in. Warrington in possession. Holden, nice ball to Barry Peters. Peters though well caught by Phil Tate. And that is a penalty. Phil Tate not allowing Barry Peters to play the ball. John Woods once again comes over. He puts the ball safely into touch, so Warrington then their first real attack of the match. Roskell, it's on to Billy McGinty, striding forward. Roscoe once more. Right to Kevin Tamty, swings it back to Holden, out to Roberts. There's a little bit of a skirmish going on between Kevin Tamty and Sampson. That has now cleared up as it's Keith Holden in possession, onto Gary Sanderson. This is out Humphries, intercepted with a nice one by Jed Coates. Coates though couldn't get the ball away to Graham King, who's in support. Bowden this time decides to go himself but meets Brian Johnson, and that is a penalty. John Woods adjusts to be offside. Alan Platt then to put for touch on this near side. Makes no mistake. Graham King out to Teddy Webb, Platt, Bowden. Good tackle though from Mark Roberts round the legs. Mark Roscoe finishes it off with McGinty round the top. Sampson gives a dummy, feeds Webb. Coming on the burst now, Roy Sampson. Comes on this near side to Coates. Up in support, Andy Kay. Kay still going, runs into Paul Cullen and Kevin Tamati. First touch for Warren Wilson, but he drops the ball. But Warrington are penalised for kicking the ball away. Hunslet have another penalty. And gives them a chance to make more ground towards the Warrington line. Platt then just has a job of a little tap into touch on this near side, which he does quite easily. Graham King to Teddy Webb. Keith Mason. King once more goes himself in the play the ball. Webb looking to go through himself. Good tackle from Tony Humphries and Mark Roscoe. Roy Sampson outright with Alan Platt. Swings it back to Coates. Coates tries to go through himself. Caught though by Mark Roberts. King outright to Sampson. Sampson now drives for the line. Stops about 7 or 8 yards short by Mark Roberts. Goes right this time, but the ball is dropped by Andy Bateman, and Warrington in possession a couple of yards from their own line. But with the ball comes Tony Humphries, Gary Sanderson, and Warrington have a penalty this time. And these first 10 or 11 minutes, the game not being allowed to flow by the referee. Plenty of penalties going for each side as John Woods with a good kick over on that far side. Mark Roscoe will take the second pass of the penalty. This is out Sanderson, brings in Tamati, knocks out Roy Sampson. Gets up, plays it quickly to Roscoe, Holden, onto Tony Humphries. Humphries always well tackled by Webb and Chris Bowden. Roscoe this time to John Woods. Woods looking for the tactical kick, and it's a beautiful kick as well from John Woods. Takes Hunslet back inside their own 25 with an inch perfect kick. One bounce and into touch. Hunslet head Warrington ball. Keith Holden has it, but he's penalised for feeding. Hunslet can clear the lines with a penalty. Platt then to put for touch. Tapping it is Graham King to Teddy Webb. Mason takes play just inside the Warrington half of the field before he's stopped by Sanderson, Humphries and Roscoe. Goes out right with Teddy Webb. Driving forwards Andy Bateman. King once more to Teddy Webb. Out to Platt. Platt gives a nice dummy. Finally wrapped up though by Keith Holden, Barry Peters and Paul Cullen. Kicks charged down by Cullen, picked up by McGinty, gets the ball away to Barry Peters. Peters cuts back inside, gets away from one tackle, out for a party cuts back inside. First real flowing move there Now the linesman's on. John Mean. He penalises Alan Platt for an infringement in a tackle. John Woods then. Once again, he makes no mistakes. That's Warrington up now on the attack, just inside the Hunslet 25. Mark Roskell coming in from the ring is Joe Reparty, driving forward, still going, good driving run from Reparty despite the attentions of 3 Hunslet players. Roskell this time, short to Kevin Tamity, Tamity driving for the line. Roskell, this time it's Humphreys, Humphreys crashing for it, he stopped about a couple of yards short. It's out left to Roberts, and there's a gap for Roberts to go in. Nice dummy run from Billy McGinty. The Hunslet defence was filled, and it was an easy job for Mark Roberts as the gap appeared to crash over to the left of the post for the first try of the match and of the season. In the league campaign, it's Warrington 4, Hunslet 0, the first try going to Mark Roberts. And John Woods. And Woods slots it safely through. And it's Warrington 6, Hunslet 0, the try from Mark Roberts, converted by John Woods, with 14 minutes gone of the match. Platt then restarts for Hunslet. A high deep one, McGinty's there, takes it safely. McGinty then. He makes it to his own 25-yard line before he's brought down. Roskell on this near side to Gary Sanderson. Sanderson's well tackled by Terry Webb. Plays it quickly to Roskell, Holden. Holden brings it on this near side to Tamity. Gets the ball away and Humphreys scoops it up off the floor. Roskell once more to Keith Holden. Looking for a gap himself. 6th tackle then. Just outside their own 25. Goes on to John Woods. Little chip through himself. Bouncing awkwardly for Jimmy Irving, but he takes it safely on to Warren Wilson. Wilson, though, still trying to drive forward, but Kevin Tamity along with John Woods bring him down. Jimmy Irving goes himself from the play of the ball, going across field, finally straightens up. Just makes it into the Warrington half of the field. Graham King acting halfback, right to Platt, short to Mason. And that was picked up by Kevin Tamity, throws it out to Brian Johnson. Johnson looking to go around Jed Coates and does, still Brian Johnson. Johnson's finally caught by Phil Tate over on that far side. Barry Peters, on to Paul Cullen. Mark Roskell to Keith Holden. Tamity turns, gets it back to Gary Sanderson. Sanderson trying to skip through a couple of tackles but can't. John Woods on to Keith Holden. Dummies but just slips as he had Paul Cullen coming through on his right hand side. Mark Roskell goes himself. Makes a couple more yards before he's stopped by Chris Bowden. 6th tackle then for Warrington. Mark Roberts on to Keith Holden. High ball in the centre of the field. Andy Kay's underneath it. Barry Peters is chasing. Andy Kay has it. And Andy Kay well stopped by Keith Holden and Mark Roberts. Teddy Webb right to Warren Wilson. Crunching tackle there on Wilson by Kevin Tamity. But the referee adjudges it to be an illegal tackle and gives Hunslet the penalty. Alan Platt then to put for touch on this near side. Makes no mistake. Graham King to Terry Webb on to Keith Mason. Keith Mason though is well tackled. Once again it's King outright with Webb. A forward pass. That was good couple of inches forward, that one. Graham King goes himself in the play of the ball looking for a gap. Well tackled though by Mark Roskell and Mark Roberts. This time it's Platt, sends it outright with Terry Webb. Little chip over. Brian Johnson though, but an acrobatic dive to his left takes it safely. Roskell this time onto Drummond in from the wing. There's Drummond then. Strides forward, gets away from Bolden, gets away from another tackle still going. Just couldn't get away from the tackle of Graham King, who smothered the ball well. And offside on this near side against Graham Sampson. Roy Sampson should say, gives Warrington the penalty. It's John Woods to put for touch. And Woods has no trouble with putting that one onto touch on this near side. With 18 minutes gone in the first half, Warrington leads 6 points to 0. Roskell onto Tony Humphreys. Humphreys, oh, well wrapped up. Acting half back, Roskell onto Kevin Tamity. Turns, swings it back to Keith Holden. Out to John Woods. Woods, nice pass on to Barry Peters on the burst. Peters, oh, well tackled by Phil Tate. John Woods this time, left with Keith Holden. Short pass on to Gary Sanderson. Roskell to John Woods. Woods looking for support, goes back left. Just caught though by a tackle by Roy Sampson. This time it's Keith Holden. Holden swings it back to Kevin Tamity. Tamity's just stopped short of the Hunslet 25. Sixth tackle. Goes on to John Woods. Woods kicks for the corner. Mick Bell comes for it and the ball's dropped. It's loose. Keith Holden dives on it and that's 6 more tackles for Warrington. 10 or 11 yards from the Hunslet line. John Woods this time. Swings it out left with Humphreys. Did well to take it. Gets away from one tackle. Humphreys is still going. He's still going and he scores! Great try for Tony Humphreys. He got through 3 Hunslet players. How did he score? I do not know. Tony Humphreys there. There's 3-4 Hunslet players round him. But he got through 4 of them and dived over in spectacular fashion for the second try of the match. Fine try from Tony Humphreys. So John Woods. Woods comes up and strikes it safely through. 20 minutes gone, halfway through this first half. Warrington 12, Hunslet 0. Second try coming from Tony Humphreys, converted by John Woods. And Robbie Whitfield having a little word with Tony Barrow in the dugout. Platt restarts, fires one, and fires one straight out. Gives Warrington a penalty from the centre spot. John Woods once again will put for touch on this near side. Right footed. Once again, makes no mistake with a good kick. Roskell, second pass of the penalty. Misses out Tamity, brings in Sanderson. Sanderson drives forward into the Hunslet 25 before he's stopped by Teddy Webb and Keith Mason. This time it's on to Humphreys, driving forward again. Let's go 5-6 yards. Once again, Warrington in a good attacking position now with Keith Holden. Woods around with Holden, swings it back to Mark Roberts on the burst. Roberts still going, gets away from one tackle. Finally caught by Webb. Once again, acting half back Roskell onto Kevin Tamity. Tamity trying to drive through. Held up in the tackle. Plays it quickly to Roskell. Onto Keith Holden. Holden back to Peters. Peters moves back inside. Still Barry Peters. Gets away from one tackle. Looks for the gap and finds it. And Peters goes straight through the Hunslet defence for a great try. Good try there from Peters, got away from one tackle, left Mason for dead. And Warrington suddenly take command in this first half with 2 tries in 3 minutes. And Joe Woods collects his 3rd goal of the afternoon. So Warrington 18, Hunslet 0, with 22 minutes gone in this first half. Already Hunslet warming up 2 substitutes over on that far side. Platt restarts once again, fires one deep, and Billy McGinty does well to take it. McGinty then striding out of his own 25. Stopped by the half-back partnership of Coates and King. Roskell left to Keith Holden. Cullen took it well, then falls to the tackle of Alan Platt. And a penalty is given to Hunslet. Platt puts the touch, so Hunslet then a chance of an immediate reply. Graham King onto Teddy Webb, short to Mason. King once more, gives a few dummies, Bolden into space, looks for the gap, good tackle though from Kevin Tamati. Assisted by Tony Humphreys. Andy Bateman this time. Pulls it forward, trying to drive for the Warrington line. The Warrington defence holding out at the moment. Graham King right to Coates. Gets the return, fires one in. Phil Tate, but he loses the ball. And it's Keith Holden who dives on it safely for Warrington. And the few hard tackles coming at the moment from both sides. And the game boiling point at the moment. Seems it could erupt at any second. And offside. Over on this near side gives Warrington the penalty. And it's going to be a warning for Jimmy Irvine. Persistently offside. John Woods then to put the touch on this near side. Roskell taps it, first receiver, this time is Gary Sanderson. Sanderson though well tackled by Teddy Webb. Plays it quickly to Roskell, out left. This is out Holden, brings in Humphreys. Humphreys strides down the centre, gets away for a tackle again. Still Tony Humphreys, only got the fullback to beat. Another great break from Tony Humphreys. Sets Warrington up just outside the 25. This time it's Holden on this near side to Billy McGinty, striding forward. McGinty makes it to the 25 before he's stopped by Andy Kay. Andy Kay injured after that tackle. This time it's Holden, gives the dummy out to John Woods. Woods looks for the gap, and he finds it. His pass, he just charged down the ball. Still is on to Joe Woods. Woods is still going, and that's 6 more tackles. The ball hitting the Hunslet hand. Mark Roskell goes himself in the play of the ball, short to Holden, gives the dummy, looks to go through himself, but just caught. Gary Sanderson was hit off the ball as Roskell plays it this time. Back to Kevin Tamati. Tamati trying to drive through. 5 yards short of the Hunslet 9. Warrington on the attack. Tamati plays it. It goes back to Holden. On to Mark Roberts. Roberts trying to skip out of a couple of tackles. Still in a dangerous position as Roberts plays it to himself and scores. Good try from Mark Roberts. Just playing to himself. There was 2 Hunslet players there, but they couldn't stop him as Mark Roberts kept the ball up brilliantly and puts it over the Hunslet line for Warrington's 4th try. And Mark Roberts' 2nd of the afternoon. And Warrington already taking command of this match. Already 4 tries on the board, and now John Woods a chance to make it 4 goals. And he just slots it through and makes no mistake. So Warrington 24, Hunslet 0. With a little over 10 minutes left in this first half. Platt then to restart. Brian Johnson takes it well. Johnson then moves forward, goes on that far side, knocks off 2 men. Johnson still going, looking to beat his man on the outside. Fine one from Brian Johnson, clears his 25 well in beating a couple of men. It's on to Paul Cullen. Cullen, he's caught though by Roy Sampson. Roskell this time to Keith Holden. Short to Mark Roberts. 3 Hunslet players there to bring him down. Roskell, John Woods. Nice ball onto Humphries, but he can't take it, dives on it. That'll be a knock on and a scrum down. Substitute warming up now on that far side for Hunslet. So we have a scrum down just outside the Warrington 25. Graham King puts the ball in. The scrum turns, wheels and collapses. And somehow the referee decides that it's a penalty to Hunslet. Platt then puts a touch on this near side, sets Hunslet up on the attack. King, Teddy Webb, he brings in Platt, swings it out, but the ball's completely missed by Bateman, and Warrington are in possession. Hunslet's moved there. A bit close as Cullen gets away from a tackle, throws it out to Keith Holden. John Woods, nice ball to Barry Peters. Peters now storming forward, sends it out to Reparty. Reparty cuts back inside. Nice flow move there from Warrington, right across the line. Peters now onto Des Drummond. Drummond looking for a gap himself, trying to go through, makes a couple more yards before he's brought down. Roskell to Keith Holden. Holden swings it out to John Woods. Woods goes himself, finds a gap, gets the ball away to Kevin Tamati. He's got Mark Ross with him, gives the dummy on to Keith Holden. The ball's dropped. As a substitution now being made by Hunslet. Keith Mason has only lasted half an hour of the match, and he'll be substituted by his coach Peter Jarvis. So Andy Sykes comes into the match, replacing Keith Mason. Ball goes in, well hooked by Warrington, but Mr. Whitfield doesn't like it. Once again, Alan Platt for the umpteenth time in this first half is foot for touch, and once again makes no mistake. Once again it's Graham King to Teddy Webb, brings in Sykes, but Sykes virtually stopped as he met Mark Roberts and Gary Sanderson. King once more swings it back to Webb, brings in Bateman who finds the gap, but he's well tackled by Tony Humphries and Kevin Tamati. Andy Sykes sends it outright with Webb. Platt swings it back, driving forward now Phil Tate. But Tate well tackled by Billy McGinty and Tony Humphries. Still on the attack now with Mick Bell. Bell trying to drive through midway inside the Warrington 25. Teddy Webb on it's short to Alan Platt, looks for support, finds it from Webb, chances here, a wild pass looking for Wilson, but Wilson drops the ball. Unbelievable there. Warren Wilson really has to catch that and dive in the corner, but he was too bothered about the attentions of Des Drummond, took his eye off the ball and was forced to knock on. But a scrum down, an important one for both sides. 5 yards from the Warrington line. With 8 minutes remaining in this first half, with Warrington in command at 24 points to 0. And Warrington with Keith Holden going around the blind side, running into loose forward Teddy Webb. Des Drummond going across field, drives through, well tackled though by Andy Sykes and Jed Coates. John Woods this time, onto Keith Holden, gives a dummy, looks for a gap and finds it onto Billy McGinty. He's got support from Roskell. Roskell now, still Mark Roskell going, throws it out to Peters. Peters onto Joe Reparty. Reparty comes back inside, beats one man, knocks off Andy Kay, throws it out to Barry Peters. Peters goes back inside, throws it back to Joe Reparty, and Reparty stopped about 3 yards short of the Hunslet line. What a flowing move there from the lads in the field. 7-8 pairs of hands touching the ball. Warrington still on the attack with John Woods, brings in Kevin Tamati. Tamati driving for the line. 3 Hunslet players in the tackle, 6 more tackles for Warrington. Mark Roskell looking for a gap himself, stopped inches short of the Hunslet line. Kevin Tamity, back to John Woods, onto Holden, run around with Woods, swings it out to Tony Humphries. It's an open line for Tony Humphries, 3 seconds, so easy there. There is no Hunslet defence at all. And at the moment, Hunslet are being shown how hard it will be to survive in the First Division this season. There was only one man on this near side, and that was Warren Wilson. He had to contend with 4 Warrington players, and Tony Humphries had the simple chance of going in for his second try. John Woods then, and John Woods having a field day at the moment. That's his 5th. And that's Warrington 30, Hunslet 0. A second try for Tony Humphries after some poor Hunslet defence. And it came after a fantastic move that went virtually the length of the field, which ended in showing Party just been held short of the Hunslet line. And limping off is Chris Bowden. He's going to be replaced by Andy Marsden. And Hunslet at the moment finding how hard it will be to survive in the First Division this season. Platt restarts, once again fires it deep. And a fantastic take from Brian Johnson. Johnson then strides out of his own 25. Good tackle though from Jed Coates. Drummond goes himself in the play of the ball. Drummond plays it, Roskell, and Sanderson somehow managed to take it, but then fumbled it, and Hunslet now in possession, looking to get on with things with Platt. Chances here for Hunslet, Platt going through himself, just held short by Cullen and Peters. Penalty given to Hunslet, and it's quickly taken by Platt, and he scores. Warrington there turned the back on the Hunslet defence, and Platt dived over. So Hunslet scored their first try in the First Division this season. Not the most spectacular try in the world, as the Warrington defence turned the back on Alan Platt, and Platt quickly tapped it and dove over. So Platt then to try and convert his own try. Platt then comes up, strikes it well, but it goes across the face of the goal. And it's Warrington 30, Hunslet 4, with 4 minutes left in this first half. John Woods then restarts. Lofty kick, a deep one. Safely taken by Phil Tate. Tate clears his 25 before he's brought down. Sykes onto Teddy Webb. Webb, good run from Teddy Webb, making a good 5-6 yards. Sampson, driving forward this time is Andy Sykes. Gets the ball back, but a knock on from Sykes and a scrum down midway inside the Hunslet half of the field. Move down to the final 3 minutes, plus injury time in this first half. Holden has it. Tries to go through the gap, then was sandwiched by Platt and Coates. John Woods to Billy McGinty. Roskell, Tamity. Tamity, nice pass to Sanderson. But Sanderson loses the ball, and Roy Sampson comes up with possession for Hunslet. Substitute Andrew Marsden. Sykes then. Hunslet at the moment playing it through the forwards and not making much ground. This time it's starting to run it. Good few yards made by Jed Coates. Acting half back then, Graham King swings it back to Platt, but his kick goes straight into the hands of Brian Johnson. And a penalty there given to Warrington. Referee will want a word with Andrew Marsden. So the closing stages then of this first half, Warrington with a 30 points to 4 lead as John Woods safely puts the ball into touch over on that far side. Roskell to take the second pass of the penalty, taps it onto the first receiver, Kevin Tamity drives forward. Roskell this time onto Tony Humphreys. Humphreys once again driving strong. Roskell, Holden, nice pass onto Mark Roberts. Roberts pushed back a few yards. Keith Holden looking for a gap himself, finds it. Space now for Kevin Tamity. Nice good break there from Holden, well supported by Kevin Tamity. Roskell to John Woods, gives the dummy, straightens up. Finally stopped by Roy Sampson. Keith Holden on the 6th tackle. Kicks it through for the corner, Cullen's after it, but the ball just a little bit too strong from Keith Holden, that bounces out. And Hunslet have a tap from their own 25-yard line. Now in injury time in this first half as Webb taps it onto Marsden. But Marsden well tackled by 8, 9 and 10, the front row of Warrington, Tamity, Roskell and Humphreys. Teddy Webb, nice little dummy. Plays it to himself, makes more yards, does Teddy Webb, but then the ball goes loose. Hunslet reclaim it though, and they have 6 more tackles. But the ball comes to Graham King, plays it quickly. Platt this time, Coates finds a gap, still Jed Coates, great break here from Coates, he's still going, throws a nice ball away to Jimmy Irving. Irving looking for Wilson, Wilson going for the corner, where he's pushed out by Cullen and Drummond. Good cover tackling there from Paul Cullen and Des Drummond. As Warren Wilson had a sniff of a try, but that sniff was soon blotted out by the Warrington cover. Paul Cullen and Des Drummond. Now coming up to playing of minutes of injury time. Keith Holden has it. Gary Sanderson was a long way offside there, especially Alan Platt stood next door. This time it's Kevin Tamity. And there goes the half-time hooter. Warrington fully in command in this match at the moment, leading by 30 points to 4. Tries, 1 from Barry Peters, 2 from Tony Humphreys and 2 from Mark Roberts. That with 5 goals from John Woods. Makes it Warrington 30, Hunslet 4. Hunslet's only try coming from Alan Platt. Half-time score then, Warrington 30, Hunslet 4. So the teams return, and the first appearance of the season of Les Boyd. And Les has replaced Kevin Tamity at the half-time break. Warrington in the second half, already in command, leading by 30 points to 4 after a fine first half performance. And Hunslet have got a lot to do if they want to get anything from this game. So the Hunslet team return with the same 13 that finished the first, that will start the second, with the mountain to climb at the moment. So John Woods then to restart this second half. And the watch starts for the second half as Woods restarts. John was his kick goes straight to Terry Webb, who hands it on to Mick Bell, but Mick Bell quickly wrapped up by three Warrington players. Nice little dummy from Graham King, but a good tackle from Billy McGinty. Sampson left, Bateman strides forward, makes good ground before he's finally stopped by John Woods and Mark Roskell. Goes back to Platt, Platt kicks downfield. Bit of a wind has got up in the second half, but Johnson takes that superbly. But he's well tackled by Phil Tate. Peters brings in Rapati. Mark Roskell on this near side to Tony Humphreys. Humphreys moves back inside, still drives forward before he's stopped by Andrew Marsden. Goes right with Keith Holden. Back to Les Boyd. Boyd knocks off one man, gets it on to Gary Sanderson. Roskell to Holden. Swings it out to John Woods. Woods gives a dummy straight and Douglas to go through the centre. Gets a lovely pass on to Barry Peters. Busy still going. He's got two on his right. Peters back inside to Cullen. Cullen striding for the line. He's still going. His pass is still going loose. Peters goes for it again. Dives over. But the try will not count for a forward pass. Well, good move there from Warrington. A great break from John Woods in midfield. Found support from Barry Peters and Paul Cullen. Cullen's passed though just to before as it went over, as he had Keith Holden in support. So scrum down. 10 yards from the onset line. The ball goes in. Went into the second row. King didn't retire, but the referee lets play go on. Andy Kay. He's sandwiched by Robertson Boyd. King, and offside over on that far side. Give Hunslet a penalty. Alan Platt with a good kick for touch. Graham King then. Webb swings it out to Platt. Short one onto Marsden. On to Terry Webb. Swings it back to Bateman. Good tackle from Gary Sanderson as Bateman was in full flight. Marsden swings it out left, this time with Platt. Poor pass, it's collected though by Kay. Kay still going. Finally swung to the ground by Tony Humphreys. Teddy Webb to Platt. Looking for a kick for the corner. It's a good kick that from Alan Platt. Right to the corner. For a scrum down. Two front rows finally meet as the ball goes in. Graham King goes into the scrum, out to Coates. Swings it out to Phil Tate, Andy Kay. Back inside now, Jimmy Irvin. King goes for a gap himself. Well tackled by Gary Sanderson. Webb swings it back, Jimmy Irvin, but he can't take the pass and Mark Roberts has it. Roskell to Tony Humphreys. The ball's been yanked from his hands, but it's a knock on by Jed Coates. That's a scrum down. Holden puts the ball in, Warrington in possession. Holden looking to get past Teddy Webb, but Webb just managed to get back there and bring down Keith Holden. John Woods outright with Billy McGinty. McGinty just caught. Cullen, blindside to Mark Roberts. Plays it to himself, Mark Roberts moves in field. Coming in late there was Andrew Marsden. The referee has a little word with him. Holden, Boyd. 6th tackle then for Warrington. Still midway inside their own half. Goes back to John Woods, gives a dummy, looks for a gap down the centre, kicks it through. Was brought down blatantly. And Warrington have the penalty. So John Woods with the kick for touch over on that far side and makes no mistake. Roskell, it's Boyd coming up on the burst, driving forward. Les Boyd gets the ball away to Drummond, Drummond crashing in. Roskell this time left with Holden, brings in Mark Roberts, driving forward. Roberts makes it to the Huns at 25 before he's brought down. Roskell onto Boyd, swings it back to Keith Holden, but just couldn't take the pass. So another scrum down on the Huns at 25-yard line. Ball goes in from King, Huns in possession. Good tackle there from Keith Holden. Followed his opposite number, Graham King round the scrum. Jed Coates goes himself in to play the ball. He's stopped by the second row partnership of Mark Roberts and Gary Sanderson. Sampson, but fails to make much ground. Teddy Webb, Andy Bateman. Bateman strides forward once more. Goes back to Platt. Platt once again put in a high, deep kick. Johnson takes it safely. He's got Drummond with him. Johnson goes himself, beats one man. Johnson going straight to the centre. He just took a shirt-pulling tackle from Sykes to bring him down. This time it's on to Drummond. Swings a pass to Cullen. Gets the ball back to Drummond, and he finds a gap. Drummond's away. Gets the ball away to Keith Holden. Holden comes back inside. Swings it out to Mark Roskell. Roskell back to Barry Peters. The ball's not. Roskell still has it. And a penalty given to Hunslet for offside, although it did look as if it hit Teddy Webb's hands, but it went into the hands of Mark Roskell. But we were in a better position than the referee on that occasion. So Platt then to put for touch. On this near side, makes no mistake. Coming up to 10 minutes gone in this second half. Still the score as it was at half time, 30 points to 4 in Warrington's favour. King to Webb. Brings in Sykes. Sykes gets the ball away, but it goes behind Marsden. And Mark Roberts dives on it for Warrington. And Hunslet lose 5 tackles there. When at this stage they want to keep possession of the ball for those full 6 tackles. Keith Holden. John Woods to Les Boyd. This time it's Sanderson. John Woods swings it out to Peters. Short one to Humphries. Humphries driving forward again. 6 tackle then for Warrington. Billy McGinty chips it through himself, follows it himself, but taken there by King, but he's wrapped up quickly by McGinty. Sampson onto Platt. Up in supports, Andy Kay swings it back now, space here for Jimmy Irving. Good tackle though from Boyd. And Sanderson, assisted by McGinty. Comes on this near side, Sampson, and round move with Coates to Platt. Poor pass from Platt. And Barry Peters then quickly up on Phil Tate. On this short side now with Webb. Little grubber kick through. Deflects off Keith Holden's foot. Bounces awkwardly for Brian Johnson. Finally takes it safely. He's got Mick Bell in front of him. And Mick Bell brings him down. Keith Holden to Joe Rapati. Rapati storming through. Just caught there. So a good tackle that from Marsden to stop him. Keith Holden. Gary Sanderson. Roskell to Holden. Goes himself. Throws it back to Roberts. Roberts scoots it back to Johnson. Johnson gets away from one. Throws a wild pass to Barry Peters. A little bit of wild erratic passing going on at the moment from Warrington. John Woods short to Tony Humphries. Humphries storms forward. And that's the 6th tackle. John Woods took it well. Swings it out to Boyd. And that's a knock on and a scrum down. Although you see the new rule of the deliberate knock on, no. New rule in operation this season. So an important scrum midway inside the Warrington 25. King puts the ball in, the scrum collapses. King gets it out to Coates. Cross to Jimmy Irving. Irving looking to go through himself. Throws the ball back, well taken by Mick Bell. Bell brought down by Peters and Johnson. Jed Coates blindside to Platt. Looks for support, throws it back to Coates. Coates then dragged down by Brian Johnson. Out to Teddy Webb, run around with Andy Kay. Long pass to Sampson, he misses it. Referee waves play on, and 6 more tackles. Graham King onto Andy Marsden. Does the support, but sensibly keeps hold of the ball. Plays it quickly to King once more, to Platt. Nice back pass to Bateman. Bateman throws it back to Sykes. Sykes drops the ball. Webb has it. Platt now. Chances here for Hunslet. Coates finds a gap. Coates is going for the try line, but Drummond with a dramatic try-saving tackle there for Des Drummond. What a tackle right on the line. And then the penalty goes the way of Hunslet. But what a try-saving tackle there from Des Drummond. Came right across from his ring position and stopped Coates from going over. But 6 more tackles as Marsden is just pushed. And he drops the ball and Mark Roberts has it. What a disastrous spell there for Hunslet. As it looked as if Jake Coates was going to score, just stopped by a miraculous tackle from Drummond. They then have 6 tackles on the Warrington line and lose the ball on the first tackle. This time it's Holden, short to Gary Sanderson. Mark Roskell in half back this time to Keith Holden. Holden clearing things with a kick downfield. It looks a good one. Just bounces luckily infield for Hunslet. This time it's Warren Wilson. Wilson runs straight, but he's well tackled by Cullen and Holden. Sykes, but wrapped up by Boyd, Webb, Marsden, but Hunslet going nowhere. Sampson to Platt, swings it out to Mick Bell, but Mick Bell easily wrapped up by Joe Rapati. King to Platt, looking to go through himself, stopped by McGinty and Roskell, held up in the tackle. So Hunslet then, a couple of tackles left on the halfway line. King to Coates, swings it out to Andy Sykes. Nice pass in this space now for Jimmy Irving. Irving, back inside comes Wilson, throws it onto Sykes, nicely taken by Andy Kay. Kay still going down the centre now. Good tackle up from Mark Roberts. 6th tackle then for Hunslet. Teddy Webb, Sampson, Platt, gets a good kick in, does Platt. It's rolling towards the corner and rolls right into the corner. Hits the flag and goes out. Well, the referee is giving a tap from the 25, and that is a little unjust for Hunslet. That did go into play as it hit the flag. But the referee's decision goes away as Warrington as Boyd gets the ball back, looks for support, finds it from John Woods, who took it well. Woods now throws it out over that far side to Cullen. Cullen comes back inside. Good tackle though coming in. Plays it quickly, does Paul Cullen. Holden stops. Sanderson gets it back to Holden, took it on his knees. Holden now straightens up, back inside comes John Woods. Woods still going. Roscoe goes blindside, back inside comes Cullen. Stopped by Irving. New rash challenges coming in at the moment from the Hunslet players, who are miles offside. The referee not bothering to look as Holden swings it on to Roberts. Looks for support, finds it from Johnson, who took it well. Johnson's away now, just caught, throws a pass out to Joe Rapati. Rapati now cuts back inside. Still Joe Rapati gets away from a couple of tackles. Still drives forward, finally held up on the Hunslet 25 and then just pushed back. Good break there from Brian Johnson. Barry Peters onto Keith Holden. Back inside to McGinty. There's a huge gap. McGinty streaks to the line under the post. Great bit of play for Keith Holden and Billy McGinty. Lovely set move there. Holden sent the Hunslet defence the wrong way. McGinty, there's a huge gap. The fullback was well out of position. And an easy try under the post for Billy McGinty. And that's the first score of this second half. And it comes 16 minutes into the second half. And Bob Jackson strips off on the bench, but just goes and sits down. As John Woods right in front of the posts comes up. And no trouble, his sixth goal of the afternoon. So Warrington 36, Hunslet 4. Platt then restarts, once again fires one. And that is a good kick from Platt. He's been doing them all afternoon, firing them from the centre spot. That one this time does come off, skids across the surface, giving Brian Johnson no chance. And Warrington have a drop out from the thrown posts. John Woods then. Safely taken and handed straight on to Andy Kay. But Kay easily picked off by Billy McGinty. Platt gets out of one tackle, Platt still going. Gets the ball back, but it goes behind a couple of Hunslet players and Barry Peters dives on it when Hunslet really had a golden opportunity to score. Mark Roscoe going from the play of the ball. Mark Roberts, Holden, Boyd, back to Keith Holden, onto Humphreys, finds a gap, cuts back inside, still Tony Humphreys, strides forward, gets away to Mark Roscoe, Roscoe still going. Great break again from Humphreys, fine support play as well from Warrington. Paul Cullen swings it out to Des Drummond, looking to beat his man on the far side, onto Boyd, Boyd does well to keep in play. Goes out to Holden, Cullen, across the line to McGinty, took it well. Swings it back to John Woods. Woods now storming through the centre. John Woods onto Mark Roberts. It's a chase for the line. Mark Roberts' speed will take it there. No, he's got to stop Mark Roberts. Straight in, beats the fullback with no problems at all. A great break from John Woods. Beautifully finished off by Mark Roberts. Mark Roberts' hat-trick. What a way to start the season. 3 tries to the name of Mark Roberts. Starting the season as he finished the last. Mark Roberts again showing that electrifying pace for a second row man, just leaving the Hunslet fullback Andy Kay for dead. And off goes Gary Sanderson to be replaced by Bob Jackson. Woods, it's a peach of a kick from John Woods from the touchline, straight to the centre, no problems at all. So Warrington 42, Hunslet 4. And Hunslet having a tough baptism at the moment in the first division. Referee stops the clock. Referee and linesman haven't registered Bob Jackson coming onto the field, who has replaced Gary Sanderson. Once again, Alan Platt no doubt will fire this one down. And the first touch for Bob Jackson takes a... And he's starting forward, Jackson. Great start to the season. His first touch takes a brilliant catch and stalls forward. And a penalty as well. Gets a good cheer from the Warrington crowd. So John Woods. And that's a good kick from John Woods. Sets Warrington up on the attack once more. He has got on with things, boys, coming on the burst. Receives it from Roscoe, drives forward, gets past Sykes, he's still going, makes it to the Hunslet 25 before he's stopped. Takes 3 Hunslet players to bring him down. Holden this time to John Woods, run around with Holden, no, Woods takes it himself. Still John Woods, finally stopped by Bateman and Sampson. Roscoe. McGinty finds the gap, he's away again, he's got Jackson, his second touch and he scores. Bob Jackson on the post, a fine break from McGinty. Bob Jackson, as soon as he comes on, he's not on the field a minute till he scores a try under the posts. Well made from McGinty, who found the gap as well. And Warrington at the moment running riot. John Woods then, right in front of the post, and once again, beautifully through the centre. Having a field day and he's goal kicking at the moment. Kicked 8 goals from 9 attempts. And suddenly it's Warrington 48, Hunslet 4. And there's still 20 minutes of the match to go. Once again, Platt restarts. Drummond takes it superbly. I think he stepped over, but he carries on, beats his man on the outside, crashes forward. Still Des Drummond, back inside to Boyd, but he can't take the pass. But what a break there from Des Drummond. There's Boyd angry with himself. Well, great break from Des Drummond. Crashed through tackles on that wing. So the referee wants it in the scrum in the correct position. And Hunslet in possession. And a knock on there from Terry Webb. Holds his head in his hands. It's not been a happy day for the Hunslet captain and his team so far. And Mark Ruskell injured as Keith Holden puts the ball in possession. John Woods swings it back to Cullen. Cullen finally caught as Mark Ruskell leaves the field, which means appearance again for Tamati as John Woods trying to get through, just caught by Alan Platt. Cullen this time, right with Holden, looking for a gap himself. Caught by Andy Sykes. Cullen finds a gap, still Paul Cullen, caught by Alan Platt. Holden, John Woods, still John Woods, finally caught by Graham King and put to the ground. 6 tackle, there's Boyd. Keith Holden puts a high bomb up, and Tony Humphries is the one who's challenging for it, but Warren Wilson drops it and knocks it on. Warren Wilson there came in as Kevin Tamty strides back onto the field. With 15 minutes of the match to go. Scrum down, midway inside the Hunslet 25. Ball goes in, Hunslet in possession with King, who finally falls to the tackle of McGinty, finished off by John Woods. Jed Coates goes himself in the play of the ball. Alan Platt. But the Warrington cover quickly up, giving Hunslet no time to move. Platt gives a dummy. Nice pass to Bateman, but he drops it. The ball's still loose, and then Andy Sykes knocks on. John Woods, Peters, Johnson looking for the gap, swings it out to Cullen. He's got Drummond with him, Cullen still going. Plays it to himself, does Paul Cullen, and he's then penalised for not playing the ball correctly. So Hunslet a chance to count things down as far as they're concerned. Been under immense pressure for the last 10 minutes or so as Platt fires the ball into touch over on that far side. Andy Sykes gets the ball back to Webb, out to Sampson. Sampson can find no way through. Past Billy McGinty and Mark Roberts. Teddy Webb, Platt, Bell, but no trouble for Joe Reparty. Platt swings it out to Phil Tate. Tate easily picked off by Billy McGinty. King to Teddy Webb. Coates across the line, it goes to Andy Kay. This time it's Jimmy Irving. Irving going backwards. Marsden now, but Hunslet getting in each other's way and going nowhere. Coates to Platt. Fires one down. Bounces nicely up for Brian Johnson. Johnson onto Reparty, took it well. Kevin Tamati goes himself in the play of the ball. Des Drummond comes in from the wing. And offside on this near side gives Warrington the penalty. So John Woods to put for touch. Second pass of the penalty, Kevin Tamati onto Les Boy, but 2 balls on the field. And the referee gives a talking to the little ball boy. Tamati goes himself. And referee telling Andy Sykes to give his mouth shut, giving Warrington a penalty. And Warrington going for the tries. John Woods puts the ball into touch. With 12 minutes left of the match, Kevin Tamati will take it. In from the wing comes Joe Reparty, crashing forward. Still Joe Reparty going, back to Kevin Tamati. Tamati's crashing for the line, back to Joe Reparty. Reparty straightens up. Hunslet defence there, just couldn't keep hold of Kevin Tamati or Joe Reparty. And they very nearly scored. Tamati onto Boyd, Boyd crashing for the line. Stopped inches short. Tamati. Humphreys, the ball's loose over the line. Touches it down, but that will be a knock on and a scrum down. Right in front of the Hunslet posts. And the penalty immediately given to Hunslet. Collapsing the scrum. Platt then to put for touch on this near side. Makes no mistake. Kicking from both goal kickers today. Very good indeed, John Woods and Alan Platt. Yeah, Platt in possession onto Teddy Webb, shot to Marson. Platt once more, turns in the tackle, gets it back to Marson. But Hunslet given no time to move. Teddy Webb goes himself in the play of the ball, swings it back, the ball's loose, Humphreys is after it. And a knock on given and a scrum down. Ball goes in. Scrum collapses and have to be reformed once more. Keith Holden goes round for that one. Warrington in possession. Holden, Woods gives a dummy, just caught by Andy Kay. Then nearly has his head ripped off by Alan Platt. Billy McGinty. Holden going for the gap himself. Just couldn't get the ball back to McGinty. Kevin Tamati right with John Woods onto Tony Humphreys. Humphreys striding forward once more. As Warrington look for the 50 points. They at the moment 48 points to 4. Kevin Tamati gets away from one tackle, still trying to fight his way to the try line. Keith Holden. Roberts, Holden, Boyd crashing forward. Just couldn't get the ball to Cullen, who was coming through. 6th tackle then for Warrington, right in front of the posts. John Woods throws it back to Mark Roberts. Tries a drop goal and just goes wide. So tap from the 25, taken quickly. Marson. It's run straight into Les Boyd. This time it's Bateman. Terry Webb. Andy Sykes. Sykes just drops the ball for no apparent reason. And Tony Humphreys given today's man of the match for some strong running. As his strong running brought him 2 tries. Warrington in possession with John Woods. Woods kicks it straight away. It's Brian Johnson flying for the corner. Mick Bell under pressure. And Mick Bell does well to take it. And he's stopped a couple of inches short of his own line. Phil Tate trying to clear his lines. Webb, a wild pass, and Hunslet at the moment looking tired. A few heads now droop with the scoreline at 48 points to 4. And Platt kicking to clear the trouble. It looks a good one, and it is a good kick there from Alan Platt to clear the pressure for Hunslet. So Keith Holden to put the ball in. Good hook there. John Woods. Woods still going. Des Drummond did well there. Keith Holden back to Drummond, but both players get each other's way. It's picked up by Platt. He's taking the space on that far side now for Jimmy Irving. But a great tackle from Humphreys. The ball's loose again. Wilson throws the ball back. Back again it goes. This time it's Jed Coates, one of the few Hunslet players who is still trying hard. Teddy Webb swings it out to Platt. Sykes. The ball's punched loose by Paul Cullen. The referee was a little bit slow there. I think if Paul Cullen hadn't have stopped, they would have allowed play to continue. As it is, it's a scrum down as we move into the last 5 minutes of the match. King there didn't retire, just picked the ball up, but Andy Kay. Teddy Webb. Andy Sykes. Webb throws a nice pass out. Chances here for Phil Tate. Phil Tate goes straight through. Phil Tate with a chance onto Bateman. Got another great tackle from Drummond. The ball hits the referee's legs. But another great tackle there from Des Drummond coming in from the wing position. This time to deny a try for Phil Tate. Warrington in possession with Holden. Cullen. Keith Holden, blind side to Mark Roberts. And a punch thrown right in front of the referee by Jimmy Irvin. So John Woods puts the ball safely into the touch once more with 3.5 minutes of the match remaining. 48-4. Les Boyd in possession, drives forward. Tamati to Bob Jackson. Throws the ball back to Tony Humphreys. Humphreys now strides forward once again. Humphreys once again backling hard. Gets the ball out to John Woods. John Woods now back to Billy McGinty. The ball just goes behind. McGinty picks it up. King then about to put the ball in. Once again, these scrums have really been all over the place all afternoon. The referee's not been able to sort them out at all. Ball goes in, goes straight through. McGinty has it, but his pass charged down. Still has it, but Warrington have the penalty. Will Warrington go for the try or go for the 50 points? And the ball given to John Woods, who'll try and put 50 points on the board for the Wire. Woods then 8 goals, saps it through, and it goes wide. His worst kick of the afternoon, but still has 8 to his name. Des Drummond has it. Once again, the crowd electric every time he touches the ball. Goes round one man, just caught, comes back inside. Makes good ground. The ball's loose. It's picked up by Paul Cullen. And the referee gives a knock on. I think it might have been a linesman's decision. So, 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds to go. Hunslet still coming forward, this time with Phil Tate. Comes on this near side, Jed Coates still trying hard, being the pick of the Hunslet players this afternoon. Teddy Webb to Alan Platt. Platt swings it back to Bateman, goes straight up in the air, and Barry Peters has it. So Warrington, can they get the 50 points on the board? They've got about a minute to do it. With Kevin Tamati trying to crash his way through. Peters, right to McGinty. Woods swings it out to Holden, onto Cullen into space now, still Paul Cullen. Back inside comes Des Drummond. Drummond now he's still going on to Boyd. Boyd now he's got Rapati with him. Rapati crashing forward. Still Rapati still trying to go through. He had Peters on his left, just couldn't get the ball away. A great length of the field move from Warrington. This time it's Boyd onto John Woods. Swings it out to Keith Holden. Holden straightens up, comes back this way. Holden's still going, he's got a space in front of him. He gets out of one tackle, swings it back to Kevin Tamati. And it's Kevin Tamati who'll score right into the post in the final minute of the game to joke up the 50 points after a great bit of play for Keith Holden. Kevin Tamati there, finishing off a great move that started at the opposite end of the field. John Woods, straight through the centre. So Warrington 54, Hunslet 4. Now in injury time in the first game of the 1987-88 season, which sees Warrington could be at the top of the First Division. 1 minute 30 seconds to go. Hunslet 54, Warrington 4. Now in injury time in the first game of the 1987-88 season, which sees Warrington could be at the top of the First Division. 1 minute 30 seconds to go. Hunslet 54, Warrington 4. Now in injury time in the first game of the 1987-88 season, which sees Warrington could be at the top of the First Division. Platt then restarts. Roberts went behind him. Mark Roberts striding down the centre of the field again. Crashes in. And there goes the final hoot-up. Warrington destroying Hunslet by 54 points to 4. Warrington, their points coming from tries, Barry Peters, Kevin Tamate, 2 for Tony Humphries, 3 for Mark Roberts, Billy McGinty and Bob Jackson. There was a hatful of goals, 9 in all for John Woods. Hunslet, their reply coming from an Alan Platt try. They may not have got that if the Warrington defence had been a little bit more alert. So Warrington start the season with a convincing victory. Final score here at Willsville from me, your commentator Tony Gleave. Warrington 54, Hunslet 4.